Hi. The common theme as far as economy is concerned these days is how the world will recover from the economic slowdown that has been brought about by many factors, because the slowdown had begun from 2019 onwards, but coronavirus, the lockdown, only aggravated the problem. India is set to face its biggest recession ever. That's what reports say, but then these are just reports. Maybe we can just bounce back. I would always like to believe in miracles of such sort that are triggered by some good policies. Now, if you analyze the recessions that different countries have faced at different times, that then you will see that each country has a pattern, and they can take away from that particular pattern's analysis, that's what can possibly make things worse for them and what can improve things for them. I'll just give a small example. Let's just say it's a map. Let's just say, when we take example of US, all the recessions, economic downturns it has faced is mostly concerned with inflated prices of the stocks, like how it happened in 1929's Great Depression, as they call it. Most of the stocks were overpriced, and when once the inflation went out and it got deflated, the public investment, the public money, first of all got eroded, and then obviously the investment that they used to make, it reduced uh, remarkably, notably, and it took years for it to bounce back. When you go ahead and see how things were in 1950s, that was an era when most developed countries were facing the aftermath on their economy of the war. Plus, USA had an additional problem, a Vietnam War. So all these problems led to economic crisis, because they were not able to export their goods. The intermediate goods prices, it touched the roof, and so a recession, uh, an economic recession followed. Then we come to 1970s. Now this was one economic downturn that was faced by many countries, because the oil producing countries, they stopped exporting oil to all those countries that were supporting Israel. Fine, now we move to 1980s and 1990s. As far as US is concerned, most of it is about, especially in 1990s, the famous dot-com bubble bursting. Again, the net companies prices, stocks prices, was they were overpriced, they were inflated, and once people who had invested in those stocks found that suddenly the prices came crashing down, they lost a lot of money. Now we move ahead to the subprime crisis of 2007-8. As far as US is concerned, in order to lure the customers, the banks started giving loans to people for their houses um, at at impractical rates, and therefore, when things were not turning out to be as robust economically, most of these borrowers, they failed to pay back the loan, and the banks suffered quite a bit. All these problems are either connected to overpriced stock market, overpriced shares of the stocks, or or it is a call for some structural reform in the lending rates. Now this is something that even India was going through a year let's say just last year, some, not exactly the same, but some kind of revamp was required as far as banks were concerned. I have made a video on it. Please go check out. Now coming back to India. Now, as I said, each and every country in the world has a pattern of economic recession, and therefore you can take away information what is important to you when you are making policies, or when you are at an individual planning some business move. In India, most of the recessions, whether it was 1958 or 1970s, of course, because the oil prices had shot up quite a bit. So 1958 was the time when India was facing a grim situation as far as food production is concerned. So food production and oil prices. So if we were to distill these two things, these were the only two things that came forth. Most of the times, either it was food prices. So to a large extent, India has tackled its food problems. It has a good store of food, already a good storage, a good amount of food we have as a reservoir. But as far as oil prices are concerned, it's still our weak point. So most of the countries that are developed, or those countries that are doing well as far as GDP is concerned, they are mostly oil producing countries. China, US, they may not be exporting as much, but then what they have, the resources of oil, crude oil that they have, is quite beneficial for meeting the demands they have for these fuels, for these hydrocarbon fuels. So India, and there are a few other countries, developing countries, that are not rich in oil resource. So we have to import quite a bit from outside. When you can't find flexibility in one of the factors that usually trigger economic downturn, what do? You make certain alternate arrangements. India is fourth or fifth. I mean, it is doing quite well as far as its automotive parts and automobile export is concerned. However, what we can really see potential in is producing those cars for the Asian economies that are most engine efficient, fuel efficient. Their engines have to be innovated in such a manner that it can really cut down the usage of fuels. If we can't produce fuels, at least we can make some changes in the transport system, in the automobiles, that can most efficiently use fuels. Just like no more are tube lights used because they used to consume a lot of electricity. What is used in its place are CFLs and then LED bulbs, and one can see the difference in their electricity bills. So that's one way of dealing with the situation. Another very important factor is why the cost of production rises is because we don't have good network of roads through and through. Most of the roads have improved quite a bit, but when in 2015 and 2018 the Ministry of Transport and Communication, I think it was that, pardon me if I'm wrong, if that's not what it is called. I read a research on road accidents that the Ministry of Transport had conducted. It said most of the accidents that are caused are because of two reasons. Either the roads are not good or the vehicles are not well serviced. So the servicing, if your vehicle is well serviced, then the fuel consumption would be lesser. So producing cars and other vehicles that are fuel efficient, there should be a never ending emphasis on having good roads. I remember when we were traveling from Delhi to Uttarakhand a few years back, the roads were in such a bad shape, and there were a big queue of um, trucks that were carrying goods out from and goods from both the ways, from Uttarakhand to Uttarakhand. They were all stuck in the way. The whole place was clogged. So we reached at a certain place at around 4 o'clock in the evening. We couldn't get out of that particular place until it was 7. That was the condition of the road. It just did not allow a smooth passage of vehicles. Then, one thing that struck me after the lockdown started easing up was, while most countries had slashed their prices of petrol, India had raised it. For all those people who've lost their jobs, for all those people who are unemployed, and it is quite a significant number, you make them immobile to an extent by raising the prices of petrol, even though they may have a reason that government doesn't have any other source or not many sources to earn their income. But what they could have done is to cut down price of petrol for all those people who are involved in transport of material. Now this list would have included trucks and matadors and tempos who carry. These are the people who carry goods from one place to another. So giving them a discount up till a certain point, not unlimited discount, for a certain amount of petrol that they use, they'll get a certain discount. That would have been a great thing. That would have given a boost to the manufacturing industry. Not just the interest rates. Now that's something that we have discussed in the previous video, but also the transport. If the transport prices could have come down had this thing been done. The petrol prices, especially for the manufacturing industries, all those people involved in manufacturing of products, had come down, the cost of production would have come down and would have been a great thing. Fine. Then the passenger cars. The passenger cars are the ones that are light as in they are no longer made of steel, most of them, and a lot of aluminium is used, and sometimes the carbon fiber. This is the ideal way to go forward. That is how the passenger cars should be, because once the engine has to put in extra fuel, if the body is chunky, it is not well streamlined. However, it has been seen that the most work is done on premium cars, while the lower end cars, not much work has been done on improving their body shape and the material that they are made of. Okay, as I've already spoken about the driving skills. It has been seen in the same report that I was talking about that most accidents on roads occur in rural regions. Of course, they lack the kind of road that you have in urban regions. But the second thing is their driving skills are something that could be improved. Now, these people who meet with accident are mostly between 20 and 34, that age range, and that's because they put abrupt brakes. They use accelerator more rashly. So if their driving skills are polished, they are improved, the fuel consumption would be less. This is just the transport part of it, but that's going to be quite a significant part. So if I were to condense things, if I were to tell you what my view is on the takeaways of all the time, takeaways from the recession that India has faced since the last century, I would say that, in fact, we all could say that as far as the food prices are concerned, some certain level of stability has been achieved. So what is good, and I'm happy. Second thing, the food prices also includes vegetable prices, which has a lot of volatility. And the second factor that came up was the oil price shock. We could become countries that uses renewable energy. There's so many North European, Central European nations that have cut down on their use of fossil fuels and crude oil as far as electricity generation is concerned. And so many of them, even Germany uses maximum solar energy, whereas and though it doesn't have the kind of intense sun rays that India receives, it's not one of those hot as far as temperature is concerned. It's not a tropical country with hot sun, blazing sun. Still, it has been able to tap that. So I guess there is a lot of room for improving upon our how much renewable resource we use. Plus, there are so many things that can be done to make our vehicles more fuel efficient. And one thing that was expected, at least from my side, and later I learned from others as well, that please slash down the prices of petrol, at least for the transport industry, because what you are doing is so extremely short sighted, that is trying to get money through higher petrol prices. You're just killing the manufacturing industries by taking things away from them and showing to them that we are doing quite a bit. Because as I said in my last video, the people that you are aiming at for your micro, medium and small scale industry, they don't even know the full details of it. So the dissemination of information hasn't happened the way you planned. So in that case, until some substantive concrete changes are made in the economy that shows to these people who are working who are connected to manufacturing, that the government is really doing something for them, until then not much can happen. So this is it for now. Bye.